My name is David Gradovich, originally from Colombia. I lived a little bit in the United States. I went to Yeshiva University. When I graduated, I decided to go to China. I then came to Israel, where we are right now. And I am an entrepreneur myself. And because I travel around the world and I meet a lot of people, I realized that there are amazing people with amazing ideas. So I wanted the people to be inspired, as I am, with those ideas. So I decided to create this blog and share them with the world. So here I'm with Danny Stiglitz, and he's from Providence, Rhode Island.
Correct.
All right, so he actually, in the beginning of the program, the two first episodes, it was about people that created their own companies. But I decided to make an exception here because Danny here is a pretty young guy and he has his book published. And so I thought that was a really good story to share with people that want to write, people that have an idea, imagination, and they're scared that they're not going to be published. And for Danny, he has his book already being sold in Amazon, all around the world, in Book Depository, and which is amazing. So tell me more about yourself. What do you do besides of the book?
Sure. So originally from Providence, Rhode Island, lived in New York for a couple of years before moving to Israel. And a couple of years after I moved here, I decided to get my master's degree in creative writing. I've always loved writing, so it was sort of natural for me to go and get a degree in it. And then I finished all the courses, and I was having a little trouble finishing the thesis. I just couldn't, no one was breathing down my neck and telling me to do it. So people said, why don't you go to a life coach and work on your time management skills for writing? So I went to a life coach, and after just 6 sessions, I finished my thesis. And those techniques really resonated with me. So I ended up taking a life coaching course, and I became a life coach myself. And the thesis actually sort of became the template for this book, Tavern of the Mind. Some of the stories from my thesis did end up in this book, and I created new stories. So that really helped me on the journey to become a writer as well as a life coach. And I focus on, as a life coach, on time management skills, on helping people maintain their calm, but also because I also work as a human resources recruiter, I help people apply for jobs to maximize their efficiency at their jobs. I help people learn how to write resumes, things like that.
So basically, you were trying to write your thesis, you went to a life coach, you realized that the life coach does such an amazing job, so you decided to become a life coach yourself, write the thesis, and also your book, like it was
one basically each thing led to the other. Exactly.
That's very cool, very cool. What made you become a life coach? Because you wanted to help people, like that helped you?
Yeah, definitely. I've always wanted like a way to sort of reach out to people and help people. I feel with my writing I can inspire people, and as a life coach I can help people inspire themselves.
Of course, I mean, I know that you have clients, and I'm sure you can't say their names, but can you tell us an inspiring story of how you help someone to reach out?
One that's pretty public because I won't mention the client's name, but she does shout it from the rooftop. She actually was on. I did a Facebook Live with her once. Basically, she was my very first life coaching client, and she came to me saying, I want to get married. I said, well, unless your future husband is sitting in the sessions with us, I really can't help you. So let's set a goal that is, just related to you. And so we set the goal that we would improve her chances of meeting the man of her dreams. And we met for just 4 sessions, which was a total of 4 hours over 4 weeks. And based on the stuff she said, I had an idea, and I actually introduced her to a guy, and I ended up walking that guy down the aisle at their wedding.
Very nice. Very, very good story. So tell us about the book. That's the reason why I invited you today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Tell us about how did you think about the idea. I actually read the book myself. I have a copy. It's a very good book.
Autographed copy.
Autographed copy.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good book. But what made you write a book? What inspired you to write a book? What's your...
Well, part of life coaching is setting goals. So I realized early on, especially when it came to finishing the thesis, I needed to set goals. So for instance, my first goal was to finish my master's degree in creative writing. That was step 1. If I can do that, then I can do the next thing. And the next thing was to have short stories published. And I was able to get some of my short stories published over the years. And then the next goal was to publish a book. And fortunately, I did find a publisher. More accurately, they actually found me through some journalism I'd done, and they asked if they could publish a collection of my short stories. So I actually wrote some new stories and submitted some old stories, and they put a collection together, this collection. They're Hadassah WordPress, and they published these stories. Each story sort of has its own story. Like the first one The first words in the story popped into my head about a guy who wakes up with no memory of who he is or where he comes from, and he's in this like paradise valley, and he meets these villagers, and they say, we don't know who we are or how we got here either. We woke up in the woods just like you did. And I didn't even know how the story would end until I was maybe halfway through the story, and I sort of took this journey with the character, and halfway through I figured out the ending, and I sort of made everything make sense up until that point and drove him towards that ending. And then I submitted to my creative writing class, and I got to class before class started, people were already discussing the story. That's how much they loved it. They were talking about the twist ending and the clues I had dropped, and that's why I made it like the first story in here, because I realized I was onto something with that. And everyone gave it their seal of approval, and the professor looked me in the eye and said, I think you should have this published. So I put it in my first book.
So they contacted you?
Yeah, basically I write articles for my hometown newspaper, and this publisher found me through those articles and said, hey, we like your style of writing, we want to publish a collection of your short stories. And I'm like, great, I have short stories to publish. So
where can you get the book right now?
It's available on a multitude of websites, for instance, like Amazon Book Depository. You can download it on Kindle, but a variety of sites that have books.
And I know that sometimes the people pay to be published for the first time. Did you pay to be published?
No, I did not pay anything. This is a publisher that they took care of everything. In terms of purchasing my own copies, I did have to pay a little bit, but there was no investment in terms of paying them to do the actual publication and distribution, marketing on Amazon and other websites. They took care of all of that.
And why do you think it's important to write your own book, your own novel?
If somebody wants to, if their passion is writing, I actually stood face to face with my favorite author once, and I asked him, what's the number one piece of advice you can give me? He said, just write. And that's a great piece of advice, but as a life coach, I would take it a step further. So many people tell me they struggle to write, they struggle to pick up that pen, turn on their laptop. Like, there's nothing scarier than an empty page. So I'll say, set a goal, maybe not like a long-term goal. I'm going to publish a book, that's way too big. Okay, so let's say you're not writing at all, then set a goal for 1 month. So at the end of this month, I'll have 5 pages written. I'll have 10 pages, whatever you think is manageable. Each person's different. So then you'll have weekly goals. By the end of the week, I'll have 1.5 pages written, which means each day you need to sit down and write a couple of sentences. So you could have daily goals. Today I'm just going to write 1 sentence. Tomorrow I'm going to write 2 paragraphs. I'm going to write 2 pages tomorrow, and it becomes cumulative, and you can keep on track with that end goal in mind that by the end of this month I'm going to have X number of pages published. And it's very fulfilling, like, to be able to actually hold this in my hand. I've been writing stories since before I knew how to write. I would narrate to my father, and he would type them out on the computer, and now I'm holding a book that's published and available on websites in my hand. It's very gratifying.
In general, just the last question, I don't want to be that long. I know that you have things to do, and I know that people that are watching us have also things to do.
Got some writing to do.
Some writing to do. In general, people have dreams, people want to start their own company, and how would you, as a life coach also, and also as a published author, which advice would you give to people that have dreams and they're scared that they're not going to come true, so they drop them?
I'll start with something that will sound like a negative, but it's really a positive. You have to be ready. Like, you learn from your failure. You're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes, and that's great because that will make you even better. Like, I make typos, I make mistakes. I realize the first draft of my story isn't good, and that makes the second draft, the third draft, the fourth, the fifth draft even better. The story before the one I submitted to my class, actually the professor didn't like it, which made his criticism of positive criticism of the story I put in this book, that he wanted to have it published, meant so much more to me. I failed with the last story, but when he told me I succeeded with the next one, that first failure made the success even better. So that's number one. Like, just learn from your failures. Don't let them get you down. But number two would be set very clear goals. Not, I'm going to publish a book. When are you going to have the book? When are you going to write when is the first draft of the book going to be done by? How many pages are you going to write every day, every week, every month? Like, set those goals, because if it's just open-ended, I'm going to write a book, then it's just out there in the ether, and you don't know when it's going to be done. You can't say when it's going to be done because you don't have a goal in mind.
All right, and what's the call of action? Like, one of the reasons why I started doing this is also to let the people know about these startups, these amazing ideas, this book, for example. Mm-hmm. So what's the call of action for the people that are watching this video? How do they find their book? What do you want them to do?
Well, I'll say for my life coaching business, people can be in touch with me at danielthelifecoach@gmail.com. I give a free consultation over the phone, so people don't have to like start paying me money until they're sure they want to work with me. So you're welcome to interview me on the phone, ask me whatever questions you want, and be sure that you want to work with me before you agree to start meeting with me, whether it be on the internet or face-to-face, wherever you live. But when it comes to Tavern of the Mind, again, you can go onto Amazon, you can download it onto Kindle, Book Depository, Barnes & Noble, like a wealth of different websites have it available. So Tavern of the Mind is the name of the book. I'm the author, Daniel Stiglitz, and you can find it on all those websites.
If I want it signed, can you offer for our viewers?
if somebody wants that signed, I might have to charge shipping, but they can definitely be in touch with me. I do have some hard copies right in front of me right now, and I'd be happy to send them. They're willing to pay for shipping or come visit me in person. So.
That's very cool. You live in Jerusalem. If someone wants to have a talk, they can contact you, Daniel Stiglitz. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully